is when I look at something like this, the quality of the person and what he's done wrong and all that actually doesn't play into this particular story, because it already has been admitted that it may have been an accident, that he was deported improperly. And it was admitted it could have been a mistake. But he is a citizen of El Salvador, and El Salvador doesn't want to give him back. Welcome to Third Side Convo with your host, Bob Phipps. Your panelists today are Brandon Berger, Stacia Boyd, Michelle Walters, and oh no, Joe Boy, and now your host, Bob Phipps.
Welcome to tonight's Third Side Convo. We're going to be talking about deportations. Now, not in theory, but in practice. A man was deported out of the country after, or maybe right along the same time a court said don't do it. The administration shrugged, El Salvador locked him up, and now a judge is threatening contempt. Now, was this a bureaucratic mistake or a message? Is this about natural security or just skipping the whole due process part of the Constitution? And most importantly, who's next? Your neighbor? Your Uber driver? You, if you're wearing the wrong sports gear. So let's talk about it, and let's go on and start with Brandon. What's your thoughts on this deportation thing?
Well, this actually hits me very personally, simply because I have a lot of clients, almost all of my clients really where I work are in fact immigrants, and many of them are either here legally or are in the process of becoming legal residents or legal citizens, getting work visas, all that, or asylum papers, all that jazz. This in particular just seems to me like a kind of a very specific pattern of the administration going, yeah, this is illegal technically, but we're just going to do it anyway.
Gotcha. We're not exactly going to give it back. Michelle, start us out.
Absolutely, though. I mean, the particular individual that we're talking about is Kilmer Garcia, who entered this country in 2012 illegally. He is currently he resided in Maryland, but make no mistake, he is an illegal immigrant who is he's not registered, but he is an original resident from El Salvador. And based upon my understanding and the information that I've received, this particular individual back in 2019, from an immigration judge and also the appellate judge, he was dictated that he was an affiliation of an MS-13 gang, along with him having a tremendous rap sheet that is not probably in accordance with some of Brandon's friends and affiliates that he knows that, aren't engaging in this form of an illegal activity. There's a technicality and administration, error that occurred, and that's how he went out.
All right. Stacia, your first response to this. Is this just some person we grabbed off the street? What is this?
Well, real quickly, there is no evidence that he was a member of MS-13. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that he was not a member of that particular gang. And what we've seen out in the reports is that, whether he was or whether he wasn't is immaterial. Whether he started his process, as an illegal immigrant doesn't matter, because at some point he got into the system. And once you're in the system, now a set of rules and laws and all of those things apply. And one of the things that applied was that a judge did find that there was it was credible that his life would be at risk if he returned to El Salvador. So if he was adjudicated where he could be deported, he could not be deported to El Salvador. So there's several things that were part of this situation. And what we're talking about is not the qualities of this guy. I don't know who he is. He may have been a horrible person. I don't care. But the thing is that there is a process. There are rules. There are laws that must be obeyed. And the problem is the entirety of our judicial system is, quite frankly, an honor system, at least from the Justice Department side of it. It's like you do what the judge says, because the judge doesn't have an army. They have a pen and they sign something. And that signature matters. And as somebody who has been a long advocate of law and order and process, the genius of our system is process. That's the problem that I have.
All right. Well, we don't have a real attorney on this show. We're going to have to go with an amateur attorney to respond to that. Joe Boyd.
I am not an attorney, but I am very argumentative.
You work for a lot of law firms.
I do work for law firms, and I don't play one on TV. What I can tell you is when I look at something like this, the quality of the person and what he's done wrong and all that actually doesn't play into this particular story, because it already has been admitted that it may have been an accident that he was deported improperly. And it was admitted it could have been a mistake. But he is a citizen of El Salvador, and El Salvador doesn't want to give him back. Now, they have the right to keep their citizens. Whether or not he got there the wrong way or not, El Salvador has the right to keep their citizenship. And as soon as they said, we're not giving them back and we don't want to, we can't force them to. And that is a completely different issue.
No, no, they do not have a right to keep any citizen, even their own legal structure, which they do not follow. They are a dictatorship. They do not have the right to keep someone without charge indefinitely, without any kind of process, even within their own system. The only reason they're keeping him is because we are paying him to do so. And that is the only reason. There is no law that he has broken that they've charged him with. There, at least nobody that anybody's talking about. There is nothing that's happened. Nothing. No reason to keep this man. And at this point, the fact that they are not showing proof of life is extremely concerning.
Okay, so are we able to tell other countries how to rule their laws and how to do what they want to do? If we disagree or agree with them, we can tell them what to do. We can say, you have to do what we want.
No, they have to do what they said they would do. They have a constitution. They have a set of rules and laws. And within their constitution and their set of rules of laws, there is nothing that says we can legally take a person that the United States sends us and hold them indefinitely without charge.
So if China does something wrong, we can enforce them if they change their minds or did it wrong?
We have those. Yes, those are called reciprocal exchange agreements. We have those.
He's an El Salvador citizen. It's their problem. That's where he belongs. That's where he originally came from. He entered our borders illegally.
But
you know what I mean? Whatever they want to sit there and do with him,
Stacia
it's not
made
our
a good
problem.
point
He
earlier.
is not a legal citizen of the United States. He is a legal citizen of El Salvador. Then there was a technicality. No, he does have a rap sheet. You know what I mean? He has gone to court. He has, been charged though with the immigration. He's been charged though with regards to the appellate court with his affiliation with the gangs. Not only that though, you see the rap sheet that he has though with regards to the infractions that he did to his wife. I mean, just that alone. This is a violent criminal. This is a violent criminal who's associated with a gang who has done umpteenth,
Okay, Brandon, you want to jump in, and you're being way too polite to the women on the person on the other side. Go for it.
I just don't have. I have issues trying to start the same sentence 5 or 6 times at once, 5 or 6 times. But I've been trying to say, okay, fine. I will accept certain things. Like, yes, maybe he committed some sort of criminal acts, and I certainly have no love for anybody who hits their wife. However, that's not the issue here. Stacia pointed out that there was evidence that if he was sent back to El Salvador, his life would be in danger. There are so many immigrants. There is a higher ratio of immigrants who come here especially from Latin America, who come here that don't already have like visas or any type of authorization to enter the country already, who are here because their lives are in danger. That's called claiming asylum. It's a standard thing that so many people do. And,
Absolutely.
And here's the thing. If he had claimed asylum, if asylum had been given to him by the United States, then unless a judge unless they proved in a court of law that he actually did commit these crimes and he actually was an active member of a gang, which, to be fair, an active gang member and someone who's proven to have committed crimes are two different things.
Okay, he didn't get the asylum, though. He got a withholding order, which is different. Asylum means that he actually gets the thing, but a withholding order is different. And so he did get a withholding order, and that is where the current administrator made a mistake.
Well, and let me just jump on that, because it's like, but that's the process. He's in the process. Once he was in the process, yeah, he did get. So at this point, here's what we know from the orders that were out there. He was not given a asylum. He was not granted that yet. But what it was saying was that he was still in the process. If it ended up that he was going to be deported, you can't deport him back to El Salvador. Of course, that was a credible threat. We do have different relationships with when we call whether somebody's a terrorist, a foreign terrorist organization. So within asylum, and Ramon or Brandon, you might know this better than I do, but in the situation with asylum, the credible threat to be granted instant asylum is that it's a credible threat from the government. If the government's going to kill you, that's probably, or arrest you or do something heinous, then that's going to fast track you into it. But because the threat was from another gang and that was credible, that does not give you that fast track to asylum. So you have to keep adjudicating. Now, it's
but
entirely
it does
possible.
get you in that process.
But
Yeah,
this
in
is,
In
I mean,
that
but for
process,
some reason,
there should be some protection there.
this is the fact of the matter, though. I said this is an illegal alien who was not supposed to be here in the first place, who absolutely did not follow the due process on getting into our country. So why should we sit there and obviously give him the proper due process on exiting?
Because
He's going
the
to be
crime of
deported.
being an illegal alien is not execution.
You know what, though? It's not necessarily an execution. He is a citizen of El Salvador.
And
so
show
the
him
fact-
to
He's
me.
not coming back.
I wanna see
He's
him.
not coming back. So he's going somewhere else, regardless of wherever he's going, because he's been proven to be a violent criminal. Even
He
his
has
own
not
law-
been proven that. There has been no court of law within the United States that has made that determination. And whether they did or not, just because you're not a citizen does not mean that you are without rights.
Absolutely, it's not without
the law read is persons. If you get your ass to the United States, that's the whole reason they come here. Because if you
Absolutely,
get
it's the
your
whole
ass
reason why
to the
you come
US, but that's what makes America great.
You know what, though? Absolutely. Not only that, but this country is built on immigrants. I mean, we're all immigrants, every single one of us.
We're
But the
built
people
on
that
law.
are here that are law-abiding citizens. And there are loads of them. Like I said, Brandon has, loads of illegal immigrants that are friends of his. We all do. They're law-abiding citizens.
I
They're
wanna
not gang
clarify
members.
that they
They're
are not all
violent individuals.
illegal.
This man was
This
sitting
is
there
very
and calling a
important.
technicality.
Oh, okay.
And he was going to go somewhere. He was never planning to stay in this country no matter what. He was going to be leaving because he sat there and I'm sure he sat there and committed crimes. Obviously, he's affiliated with situations, hey, baby, that
You're sure of that?
Yeah,
You're
I don't know you can say that, Michelle.
Information that I've received. Yes.
I really hate to say you're sure of something when we really don't know.
I'm
We're
not
getting
sure.
reports
I'm
on both
alleged.
sides.
Alleged.
I did like how Stacia did say that he was being threatened by another gang, which surely implies that he was currently in a gang.
gang
But
No,
that was
no,
when
it
he
doesn't.
was 16.
That's not necessarily
It does not.
true. No. Just because you're threatened by a gang does not necessarily mean you are in a gang.
She didn't say
And
a
in fact,
gang. She said another gang.
If you're threatened by a gang, it's like, and this is really, and the reason I know about gang culture warfare is because of my world of working in museums, and I had to do a whole piece on it. So again, all the minutia that I know. But in the world of gangs, there is a culture and a rules and laws and all that kind of stuff. One of them is if somebody's already a member of one gang, you don't go recruiting him. That starts a war. If he's a member of no gang, then yeah, you can recruit, you can threaten his family. But once you become a member of a gang, that means that if you threaten that gang member, the rest of that gang comes for you. So if anything, it's evidence that he was not already in a gang.
Okay, well, if you have an understanding, though, of, this gang culture, which I don't necessarily do, and I'm only going based upon the information that I'm hearing, is when you are looking at an MS-13 member, they're only going to be sitting there in association with their own current kind. They're only going to be associated. They have certain wear, tattoos, certain type of identification factors that are associating them with that particular gang. It's not like MS-13 is coming over to my house to come and hang out. No, I'm not an MS-13 member. So
Yeah.
if you're going to be in the company of those particular elements, then obviously you are associated with that particular element. And that
I
Not
have
necessarily.
pink sweaters. It doesn't mean I'm a member of Code Pink.
And to be fair, I have a nice blue jacket. Doesn't make.
You know what, though? But if you had tattoos and if you had everybody at your house that was an MS-13 gang member, I would cause pause on your affiliations and maybe some extra, some extra activities that you might be engaged in.
All right.
Whether you want to do that as a social construct, you certainly can. But when you cross over into the legal realm, then the rules apply. At
Okay,
this point, the fact
we're
that
gonna
they
have to-
a tattoo is not enough.
Okay, I'm going to
not
jump
enough.
in. I'm going to jump in. Let's go on again. We've got to take our first break. This has been tremendous, okay? So please subscribe. Go to YouTube, thirdsideconvo.com. Like us on Facebook, and we'll be right back after this word from our sponsors.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810. The Tri-Beer Show would like to thank Boggy Creek Airboat Adventures for being one of our sponsors. I got to go on an airboat and saw a real gator. I even got to go to the gem mine and mine for some gems. We ate a steak dinner at the restaurant and even got some gator bites. If you want to have a blast with the entire family, I suggest you go to www.bcairboats.com right now. Get your tickets today. The website again is bcairboats.com.
All right, we've exhausted, or maybe we've exhausted the one mistake thing. I think that some people, pretty much everybody feels probably they shouldn't have done this, and we got to find out if he's alive and everything else. But let's zoom out a bit. I wanted to talk about that prison. You know, they call it the CSOT mega prison in El Salvador. Now, why did they feel the need to build something out of a dystopian movie? Is it effective justice, political theater, or a sign of desperation? And what does it mean when we deport people directly to it? Brandon, I'll let you start with that. You're the, being an English, English second teacher. Like you said, you're around a lot of immigrants. What are they talking about this whole concept of the prison?
Well, I think deporting directly to the prison itself is largely a political tool. I think this is the current administration continuing to say the quiet part out loud, and simply getting rid of exploiting people who are particularly vulnerable. Specifically, like, yes, a lot of immigrants come here without papers to enter and claim asylum. However, not a lot of them actually know to do that or want to do that because they're afraid that if they even try to start the process, ICE is going to come knocking on their door and just pull them out and send them back to their home countries.
All right, Joe Boy, what about this prison thing? It's a pretty solid. It seems like a pretty secure prison. If you've seen any pictures from this thing, it's unreal.
Well, I will say that I found the prison thing a completely unique and interesting concept. You have a country that was rated one of the most dangerous to go to that decided, bar none, we're going to find a way to fix it. We want to fix our reputation. We want to stop crime. We want to help our own citizens. So they built this prison and made it really scary so no one wants to go. And anyone who did anything wrong was sent there and they were put to work. And guess what? No one wants to commit crimes. And now El Salvador is almost better than Sweden now as far as for a going place to go to. So is it effective? Yes. Is it right? That's a good question. I was all for that guy in Texas who had everyone dressed up in pink and had them in tents outside, and that was their prison. And if you ran, you got shot. And it was very simple. And in Texas, not many people wanted to commit crimes. So I don't know whether or not deporting straight to prison is a great idea, but I do like the idea of having a prison that's the society itself has now become better for it.
All right.
Well, keep in mind, Texas has had a law for more than 2 decades that says if you commit a murder and at least 3 people saw you do it, they're going to fast track you to the front of the line for death row. It's
absolutely,
an express lane.
I don't know what that had to do with El Salvador, but okay.
Look at the crime rate has gone down. People actually want to go and sit there and go there. And if you look at the safest countries around the world, they have very stringent crime rates. Very, very stringent. You know what I mean? Look at North Korea. Very stringent. Why do you think they're safe? It's because of their, you know what I mean, their position on crime.
Michelle, sweet pea, sweet. Oh no, God, no. We will not be comparing ourselves to North Korea as a model to look up to. That is not what we're going to do. North Korea is an absolute authoritarian state, and an authoritarian state is like you have no rights. Your thoughts are what matter. In El Salvador and other places that are pure dictatorships, have they put criminals in those places? Yes. They've also put innocent people in those places.
Yes, absolutely they have. But still, though, at the end of the day, though, I feel like we're spending so much more time on the 1%, the criminals that are sitting there and creating so much havoc and chaos and destroying all of our American lives. And we are not coming down hard enough on them.
But they're not being destroyed by them. Our American lives are being destroyed by other issues right now. It's like the people who are coming here working for pennies and hiding in slums are not destroying the American way of life. And the thing about the idea about like the criminals in the U.S., we had our version of that, and it was a good one, by the way. I still support it, which is the broken windows theory, which is basically you police for small things, and then it's like the big things help take care of themselves. That got carried away, got out of hand. But what in these countries that they do is they start off as their own terror organization. And going back to pure history that we already know about, you mentioned North Korea. We know one country who won a war on drugs, and that was China. And they did it by essentially murdering anybody they found with drugs for a long time. It is a state-sanctioned murder. This is what we want to avoid. We are the United States of America. We are supposed to set the high standard, not sink to the lowest.
Right now, unfortunately, we are sinking to the lowest because we're sinking to the lowest, and our concern and our efforts are for these criminals. And one of the things, though, that I have to admit, though, that I sat there and I looked at today, and it was really honestly sitting there and disheartening, is I was looking at the GoFundMe pages for, you know what I mean, for this Garcia, this Luigi, this whoever the individual that sat there and you know what I mean, who desecrated the nurse. They get more money, you know what I mean, than the innocent victims, than the innocent victim families. It's more cause and concern. We have a Democratic, you know what I mean, Maryland man who was going all the way over there to El Salvador to make sure that this man is okay. Did you even call this family? Did you ever call the family that has been hurt, or you know what I mean? The daughter has been murdered and raped and all of these things. No time and effort is being sit there and spent on these innocent families. Everything just seems to be...
If it bleeds, it leads. Let's face it. That's the way the news is.
Families. A lot of time and effort is spent on families. A lot of it. A lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of victims, right? We have, GoFundMe, it's like private citizens giving private money to other private, who cares? It's like you said, we don't care what private people do with private money.
I understand, but we don't still have to sit there and look at the common denominator. Why as us as a society find it more important to spend more money on criminals, people that are sitting there and creating...
I would have to see more, I'd have to see more confirmation of that as a fact. I don't think we do.
That's jogging down the road and, you know what I mean, jogging.
More money is given to the injured dog on the side of the road than it is to human beings.
But it's not necessarily just GoFundMe, though. I mean, it's media attention. It's, you know what I mean? It's our representatives' attention. It's way too much that is based on that 1% of the people that are sitting there and creating these violent crimes towards our American individuals compared to these innocent families. These are innocent families.
Again, this is the thing that's
it's personal people. It doesn't count.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's personal people. It doesn't count. As much as I hate to disagree with Michelle here, what other people do just because they're popular doesn't really matter, and what happens with the states.
And especially when we go back to the argument about deportation. Deportation, I am a person that actually believes we need to deport more people faster as they come across. And that happens to be where I am, a little bit on the right side of the right-leaning side of this. But that means you send more lawyers to the border, you send more judges to the border, you send more border agents to the border to catch more people, and you turn people around faster. You do not, once they get over into the United States though, and they get into the system, as an honor system, we now have this point where it's like we have now entered into an agreement with them. We have said like you're in our system.
No. I had to.
So in order for us to be who we are, we must honor our own system.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I agree though with regards to the immigration, where we do need to sit there and increase our judges and everything. But at the end of the day, though, I mean the rules, the protections, that illegal aliens, which they do have once they get here, are primarily forfeited, though, on...
All right. Okay, well, we got to take our next break before we finish with our final segment. We're actually going to look to the other side to see where we agreed with each other. We'll be right back. Please.
Corona Cigar Company is your one-stop shop for all your cigar needs. Whether that's a brand new humidor, a box of those new cigars you've been waiting for, a top-of-the-line cutter or lighter, a place to enjoy the finest cigars and spirits with friends, or the only cigars grown right here in the Sunshine State, we've got you covered. Come visit one of our retail locations for the ultimate cigar experience. Visit us online at coronacigar.com.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
You know what your mother always said, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Well, let's not go that far, but at least let's ask this. Where does the other side have a point that they were trying to make? If we can't even find one thing we agree upon with the other side, maybe we're not debating. We're just yelling. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with Joe Boyd. Joe Boyd, what did you find that Stacia and Brandon said that you agreed with?
I understand where they're coming from, where this is a concern for those people that are coming into this country and that they're scared, especially understanding where Brandon was coming from, and a lot of his clients are concerned about it. I don't like illegal immigration, and I want people to be more worried so they don't want to come into this country illegally, but I understand for the people that are here, it's got to be very worrisome, and it is a real issue to look at.
Okay. The other side, Stacia, going to give me what the other side said that you agree with, even though grudgingly, possibly.
No, I think we all agree that our immigration system is completely broken. There are so many problems, everything from how people come in, what happens once they get here. All of that needs a lot of work, and it is, lawyers, guns, and money. It's like the solution to this problem is not simple, and it is something that I think we all agree there is an absolute problem with the way we bring people come into our country is to become residents or citizens.
Okay. All right, Michelle, your turn.
Yes. You know what, though? I'm in agreement with both of them on their, like I said, huge immigration problems. Absolutely. It's completely fractured, and much is need to be done. I am hoping, though, that we are able to, at some point, understand that when it comes to violent criminals, how can we come to a particular basis on trying to figure out what's the quickest methodology, what's the quickest criteria on trying to exit these people from our country.
Okay. Brandon.
Well, definitely, I definitely agree with Michelle on the idea that yes, if there's someone here who is an immigrant legally or illegally, I think is kind of irrelevant. But what is relevant is that if they are producing criminal activity, if they are becoming a detriment to their neighborhood or to their community, then obviously there has to be some action taken to remove them from the community, if not from the community, or at least from the country.
Yeah,
not necessarily sending them back to their home countries, especially if they're here in asylum because of an exigent threat to their safety. Go ahead, Stacia.
I would just like to add into that I think that what I see as the problem here, that the deportation side is its own thing. The real problem is what happens when the powers that be who are charged with enforcing the laws start just disregarding them and making them jokes and making them meme jokes and things of that nature. That is a whole different level of problem.
And not saying nice. So we're into our saying nice segment.
Okay, I can agree with Miss Stacia on that one because we don't enforce all our laws, and we have a big problem in trying to say, oh, we want to do it. Let's face it, the real reason why we say we want to solve our problem is not that we don't want immigrants. We don't want poor immigrants, and no one wants to have the balls to say it. We don't want the poor people coming in and taking our resources and using up our stuff. And we want rich people to come in, and they want those guys to come in and spend their money here. And that's what no one wants to say, but it actually really is the problem.
Well, go for a new one.
I don't necessarily mind about that. I'm just trying to figure out how can we sit there and come to a common ground on, what's acceptable? What's acceptable if we have somebody who is extremely violent, who is absolutely posing, an immediate threat to You know what I mean? To our citizens here, our neighbors, our, you know what I
Well,
mean?
Michelle, I got an idea. Michelle, I got an idea on that. They apparently deported about 146 of them, and I'm surprised that more of them didn't come up with probably shouldn't have been before that person was checked out more. And I think everybody I've talked to on both sides of the aisle of this one are saying this person may not have been the one to take this with, and so. You know, whether or not that the El Salvador, maybe we'll just have to do a whole show on prisons and highlight the El Salvadoran prison, because I think that's just fascinating. And in fact, I'd love to know whether or not y'all all think it's a good thing or a bad thing, that whole prison thing. But hold on, open it back up. But we gotta go and close the show. We're gonna do that another time, Station. I'll make sure you're on that show. So please subscribe on thirdsideconvo.com. Go on Facebook, and this has been the Third Side Convo, where we don't take sides. We take responsibility for the conversation amongst friends. Thanks for thinking it out through us. We'll see you at another episode of Third Side Convo.